Good evening and welcome to Kini News. The young di-Pertuan Agong has reiterated his call for all members of parliament to stop politicking and to give priority to the people's well-being so that the 2021 budget can be passed without any disruptions.
The young di-Pertuan Agong has advised all MPs to support the budget 2021 for the well-being of the people and for the recovery of the economy following the COVID-19 pandemic. Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmad Shah said this in a statement which was issued by the controller of the royal household, Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, after granting a pre-cabinet meeting audience to Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin this afternoon. In his statement today, Sultan Abdullah said that the budget was important for the government and authorities, especially frontliners, to continue efforts to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Sultan Abdullah said that political bickering for self-interest would not benefit the country and its people. As such, Sultan Abdullah calls on the MPs to heed the royal advice to immediately stop the politicking and to instead give priority to the people's well-being so that Budget 2021 could be passed without any disruption, the statement added. On Sunday, the king had rejected Muhyiddin's bid for an emergency proclamation, but at the same time warned MPs against destabilizing the government. Following the Agong's decision, various political parties have called for bipartisanship to ensure that the budget is passed.
In the meantime, Pakatan Harapan is expected to have a meeting tomorrow with the budget being one of their main agendas.
The Pakatan Harapan Presidential Council is expected to meet tomorrow, with political maneuvering having seemingly come to a halt. According to Harapan sources, the council will meet at the PKR headquarters in Petaling Jaya to discuss the opposition coalition's next move. It has been a month since the last Presidential Council meeting, which was held 2 days after the Sabah state election. When contacted by Malaysia Kini, Amanah Deputy President Salahuddin Ayub said he expected the agenda of the Harapan meeting will mainly be on supporting Budget 2021. However, Salahuddin said that some people have misunderstood that Harapan would be joining a unity government. When asked about the suggestion of former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak that BN considers backing Anwar as Prime Minister, Salahuddin said that this was water under the bridge. He said the possibility of the PN government being toppled was no longer an issue for now, and that priority should be placed on discussing the budget. Meanwhile, Salahuddin reiterated that Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin should meet with the opposition to discuss this. Yesterday, Salahuddin said that the opposition was ready to meet with Muhyiddin to discuss Budget 2021, which is set to be tabled in the Dewan Rakyat next Friday. He also urged the PN government to provide an equal allocation to all parliamentarians. DAP chairperson Tan Kok Wai had also called on Muhyiddin and the PN government to adopt cross-party cooperation to prevent another major period of turmoil. Tan urged Muhyiddin to respect and adhere to the Agong's advice by engaging with Harapan to ensure stability in the government.
3 new zones in Kudat, Sabah have now come under the enhanced movement control order.
Senior Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob has announced that 3 localities in the Kudat district in Sabah will be placed under the enhanced movement control order. He said that the decision was made after the Sabah state government had highlighted an increase in the number of positive cases in the areas.
Mengambil kira peningkatan kes di ketiga-tiga lokaliti ini dan di atas nasihat Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia, sidang khas hari ini bersetuju untuk melaksanakan Perintah Kawalan Pergerakan Diperketatkan ataupun PKPD di Kampung Pengaraban, Kampung Tanjung Kapur dan Kampung Landung Ayang di daerah Kudat mulai 30 Oktober 2020 sehingga 12 November 2020.
Ismail said a total of 2,393 households involving 13,884 residents will be affected. Meanwhile, he also announced that the conditional movement control order that was declared from October 12th to October 30th in the Federal Territory of Labuan is now set to be extended.
KKM masih meneruskan saringan secara bersasar kepada penduduk di Labuan dan sehingga kini masih terdapat peningkatan kes positif yang dikesan di kalangan penduduk wilayah Persekutuan Labuan. Oleh itu, sidang khas hari ini di atas nasihat Kementerian Kesihatan bersetuju untuk melanjutkan lagi tempoh PKPB di wilayah Persekutuan Labuan selama 14 hari lagi bermula 31 Oktober 2020 sehingga 13 November 2020.
The Health Ministry today reported 801 new COVID-19 cases and 8 deaths.
Malaysia recorded 801 new COVID-19 cases today, bringing the total number of active cases in the country to 10,123. From the total number of cases, 2 were imported cases involving travel from Iran and Saudi Arabia. Out of the local cases, Sabah continued to report the highest number of cases with 546, followed by Selangor with 88 cases. Labuan had 29 cases, Kedah had 28, and Sarawak reported 27 cases. Health Ministry Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said that 94 patients were being treated under intensive care, of which 25 required respiratory support. 8 deaths were reported today, bringing the total number of deaths in the country from COVID-19 to 246. 7 of the deaths were reported in Sabah, and 1 was reported in Selangor.
Ronnie Liu, who was detained this morning to facilitate investigations following his Facebook post on the protests in Thailand, has been released on police bail.
DAP Assemblyperson Ronnie Liu has been released on police bail after being questioned over his Facebook post, which is suspected of containing seditious elements against the di-Pertuan Agong. Liu was detained when he went to the Petaling Jaya District Police Headquarters to have his statement recorded this morning. According to his lawyer, he was detained to facilitate police investigations under the Sedition Act and Communications and Multimedia Act over a Facebook post on the protests in Thailand with regard to King Maha Vajiralongkorn.
The police have received several complaints regarding his posting on the Facebook. The posting is a very short posting, which reads, "Now in Bangkok, they are saying no to the king." So for that complaint, they are investigating. According to the investigation officer, they will be arresting YB Ronnie for the purposes of further investigation. So that is the basis now to investigate him. The investigation is under Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Sedition Act and also Section 233 of the Multimedia Act.
A screenshot of Liu's posting has been making the rounds on social media with calls to reject DAP. Several netizens had also questioned if Liu was instigating Malaysians to question the rulers as well. However, both his lawyers, Jadavish Chandra and Gobin Singh Deo, said Liu had not committed any offence. Earlier, Gobin had criticised the need to detain the assemblyperson since the latter was willing to cooperate with the police. The probe into Liu was announced by Federal CID Director Huzir Mohamad in a statement yesterday. Huzir said the police are also investigating 3 other social media users for making similar remarks against the Agong.
Coming up next, we continue to follow the developments in France as their president has issued safety advice to French citizens abroad. We'll be right back. Welcome back. France has warned its citizens living or traveling in several Muslim-majority countries to take extra security precautions on Tuesday.
Anger continues to surge in several countries over cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad being displayed in France. Thousands of protesters in Dhaka, Bangladesh, marched against the images on Tuesday, one of many protests and calls to boycott French goods in recent days across the Muslim world. There has also been a flurry of ambassadors being summoned and diplomats recalled. But in a sign that some countries want to limit the fallout, Saudi Arabia, while condemning the cartoons, held back from echoing calls in other parts of the Muslim world for a boycott of French products. The French government has increased security in the country and warned its citizens living or traveling in several Muslim-majority countries to take extra security precautions. France's foreign ministry asked citizens abroad to avoid any protests over the cartoons and avoid any public gatherings. The issue has its root in the knife attack outside a French school earlier in October, in which a man of Chechen origin beheaded Samuel Paty, a local teacher who'd shown students cartoons of Prophet Muhammad in a lesson on freedom of speech. The government, backed by many citizens, saw the beheading as an attack on freedom of speech and said they would defend the right to display the cartoons. French President Emmanuel Macron has pledged to fight Islamist separatism, saying it was threatening to take over some Muslim communities in France.
Tensions gripped the streets of Philadelphia in the United States for a second night on Tuesday following a deadly police shooting of a black man.
The city of Philadelphia in the United States deployed additional police officers to the streets on Tuesday after a night of unrest following the police shooting of a black man they say was armed with a knife. Protests had erupted on Monday after a bystander's social video showed 27-year-old Walter Wallace being shot multiple times by two police officers who were instructing him to back off. A lawyer for the family had said that Wallace was bipolar and his mental issues were relayed to the officers before the shooting. On Tuesday, hundreds of demonstrators marched again demanding racial justice, while police and the National Guard troops braced for more disorder. As they had on Monday, the rallies began peacefully, but grew more confrontational as darkness fell, and police turned out in force to cordon off a section of the city's commercial district, which was lined with shops that were looted the previous night. But Tuesday's clashes appeared for the most part smaller in scale and intensity than those on Monday, when orderly demonstrations gave way to violence that left 30 officers injured and led to more than 90 arrests. Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney has since said that the video of the shooting presented difficult questions about the action of the officers, and that he understood the struggles of the black community, who he said suffered from systematic racism. Kenney also expressed sympathy for the business owners whose shops were damaged and said the law would be enforced.
As COVID-19 cases continue to rise in Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has predicted a tough winter ahead with more restrictions needed.
We're in an unprecedented global pandemic that really sucks.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's blunt assessment of the global health crisis came on Tuesday as Canada approaches 10,000 deaths from COVID-19. And with the cases continuing to rise, Trudeau predicts a tough winter ahead with more lockdown restrictions needed.
It's easy for us to want to throw up our hands. I think we have to ask ourselves who we really are as Canadians. Are we really good neighbors? Are we really people who care about the most vulnerable, about each other? I know we are.
Canada's case numbers have been rising, triggering new restrictions on public gatherings and indoor activities in several provinces. On Tuesday, Canada recorded 2,674 new cases, while there are now 10,001 deaths and over 200,000 cases. Trudeau made clear that the measures could last until Christmas and said that his son feared they would last forever.
And it's frustrating knowing that unless we're really careful, there may not be the kinds of family gatherings we want to have at Christmas. My 6-year-old asked me a few weeks ago, "Dad, is COVID-19 forever?"
The comments marked a rare show of emotion and frustration from Trudeau, who has regularly given nationally televised briefings to reassure Canadians that his Liberal government is managing the crisis as best as it can. They're also in stark contrast to other world leaders, such as US President Donald Trump, who has sought to play down the pandemic.
That's all we have time for today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. Don't forget your mask when going out, wash your hands regularly and do sanitize them when you can. I'm Daniel Anthony. Thank you for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.